Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to talk about the different data types in JavaScript. So when we talk about data types in JavaScript, they are divided into two categories, primitive and non-primitive. Primitive data types consist of string, number, Boolean, undefined, null, and this final symbol one, which was introduced in 2015 only. And anything we don't have in primitive, they are considered in non-primitive data types. So basically any functions, arrays, or objects. Now when people talk about data types, these five are the only main data types, and that's what we are going to cover in this video in detail. Now let me talk about this symbol one first, because it's very new and it's not commonly used by people. It basically allows us to create unique values for our object, and I'm going to create a separate video for this one. So right now we are only going to cover these five. Now let's start by taking a look at the string data type. And for that, I'll first open my console, and the shortcut for that is F12 on your keyboard. Now when we talk about string data type, it's basically any kind of text you have on your web page. Like we have data types in JavaScript here. This part is a text, so it is called string. And we can easily see it by creating a variable. Let's call the variable first name and equate it to my name, Durgesh. Now just be aware that when you are using string, you have to wrap everything in double quotes or single quotes. Otherwise, JavaScript will throw an error. Now to check the data type of a variable or a value, we have something called typeof. It is a JavaScript operator that again returns the data type of any variable or any value direct. So we're going to use this operator a lot in this video. So let me show you how it works. So if I console log the type of my variable first name, now just remember that when you use typeof, you have to write both the words together without a space. So if I write typeof first name and save, you see we get string in the console. And just like using the variable, we can directly use a string here. So if I wrap it in parentheses, wrap it in single quotes, we still have a string. I can change any type of text here, and we will have string all over again. So that's how the typeof operator works, and this is what a string is. Now let's move to the second data type. Now the second data type we're going to take a look at is number. And number is exactly what it sounds like. It's basically a number. Now it can be any integer, it can be decimal, and let's create a variable for this. I'll call it num, and let's say it's equal to 20. Now when we are using number, we do not have to wrap it in single or double quotes, otherwise it will become a string, and I will show you an example of it just in a second. So now if I check the type of this num variable, and if I save, you will see we get number. Now we can directly put any number here, let's say 15, and if I save, you see we get number. But if we wrap 15 in single quotes, it will become a string, and I can save and show you directly. You see now we get a string. So to make it a number, we have to avoid using string, and that's how number works. Now you can put decimals here, you can put any kind of number value here, fractions or anything like that. So if I put decimal and check the type of num variable, we again get the number. Let's check by having a fraction. Let's say 5 by 8. Let's save. We still have the number. So you saw how number data types works in JavaScript. So after the number data type, let's take a look at the Boolean data type. And Boolean data types only have two values, true or false. They are usually used to compare two values, or they are used in conditional statement. like if else or switch statement. Now let's take an example of this. So instead of creating a variable, I will just check the type of true here. So if I write true and save, you see we get a Boolean. Or if I write here false, we again get a Boolean. And if we want to check by creating a variable, we can do it using, let's call the variable Boolean value. And then instead of assigning a value, I will check something here. So let's say if 18 is greater than 15. So we are not assigning any value. We are comparing these two numbers here. So is 18 greater than 15? This will return in true. So if I console log the type of Boolean value and save, you see we have the type Boolean, and we can just console log the value of this variable too. If I save, you see we get true for this value and the type of this value is Boolean. And if I reverse the order, if I, let's say I make it 8 and save, so what will happen is 8 is not greater than 15, so this value becomes false. So we should have false here, and type will again be Boolean. So if I save, you see we have exactly that. So again, they are mostly used for conditional statement, like just like we are checking here. And after Boolean, let's see the next data type. So the next data type we're going to take a look at is called undefined. And undefined refers when a variable is declared but there is no value for it. And let me show you by an example first. I will remove this console log from here. So if I declare a variable, let's call it example. Example is spelled like this. Now if I check the type of this variable, example, you will see we get undefined because the variable is declared but there is no defined value for it, right? We have not given it a value. So JavaScript tells us that this variable is undefined. There is no value for it. And after undefined, we have something called null, which at the first look looks something similar to undefined, but they are different. They have similarities too, but they are different. So for null, JavaScript does not give us a data type. When we use null, we intentionally make a variable equal to null. Let's call this test. Let's put its value equal to null. Now if I check the type of null, you will see something interesting. I'm sorry, not the type of null, type of test variable. And if I save, you see we get an object. That's why I told you it was interesting. So instead of test, if we directly check the type of null, we will again get an object. And it is basically a bug in JavaScript, which has remained a bug for almost forever since the starting. And they are not fixing it right now because too much legacy code depends on it. And if they fix it, everything will go berserk. So they cannot fix it now. It's been just like this for ages and it will not change maybe in future too. So if we check the type of anything else, we get the data type we are talking about. Like for example, we get undefined. For Boolean, we get Boolean. For any number, we get number. But when we test the data type of null, we get example. We get object. Now, what are the differences between undefined and null? So the undefined data type is set by JavaScript and the null data type is set by us developers to use the value according to how we want. Then we can set the value equal to undefined for this variable too, but it's considered a bad practice. And when we talk about null, every time we have null, we are intentionally putting the variable equal to null. Now, that's all about data types in JavaScript. Like I said in the beginning, there are a lot of things in this if you want to go into the detail, like the symbol, data type, functions, arrays, and objects. I will make future videos about functions or arrays or basically everything. But right now, if you wanna go in the detail, I will leave a link in the description to my favorite resource to learn about data types in JavaScript. That's all I have for you today. Please leave a like if you learned anything from this video and subscribe to the channel for more such content. Thank you for watching and have a good day.